Good evening and welcome. My name is Mary Lee Kiernan and I'm the President and CEO of YWCA Greenwich. And on behalf of the entire organization, I'd like to welcome you to our annual vigil honoring those who lost their lives in Connecticut this year from domestic violence. Similar to gatherings everywhere, tonight's event is virtual and no less important and meaningful as our live event, our live vigil that we hold here every year at YWCA Greenwich. You know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness and Prevention Month, and we are spending the month raising awareness about this insidious criminal and public health and social issue in this community where domestic violence is the number one violent crime. Since 1981, YWCA Greenwich has been serving women, men, and children who are victims of domestic violence. And last year alone, we received 5,300 calls to our hotline and for crisis reasons from victims who needed our help. That's up from 3,700 the year before, and we know this increase is due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Victims were quarantining with their abusers and calling us from closets, from cars, or whenever their abusers might go out, and we were there to support them and their children. On October 4th, we had our second annual Walk the Walk Against Domestic Violence in Bruce Park here in Greenwich. And it was an important statement to the entire community that we are there for victims, that the entire community is there for victims. And if you weren't able to join us and still want to support our services, please go to our website, ywcagreenwich.org, and contribute. Help us to support these life-saving services for victims and survivors in our community. So now let me turn it over to Meredith Gold, who is our Director of Domestic Abuse Services here at YWCA Greenwich.
As you already know, October is National Domestic Violence Awareness and Prevention Month, and we're so glad that you could join us for our very first virtual vigil. While October is the dedicated month when we bring laser focus to the issue of domestic violence, our team here at the YW works hard all year long to deliver life-saving services to those who are in need. And we continually strive to raise awareness and bring attention to the epidemic of domestic abuse. But this year was different, and what you're about to see for tonight's program is different too. When the pandemic hit, our team had to get creative to quickly adapt and ensure that we could still be there for our clients in every way. Victims who had been coming into the YW for counseling during their lunch break were now working from home with no way to safely leave the house for support. With abusers and children also home all the time, survivors had to find the moments whenever they could to call our hotline, from the car, while walking the dog, even in the middle of the night. As any survivor of domestic abuse knows, being resourceful and able to quickly adapt is a most important survival skill. While we wish we could all be together in person to honor victims and survivors, it was important to us to continue the traditions of our annual Candlelight Vigil and adapt also by going virtual. Over Zoom and iPhones from home and the office, the Domestic Abuse Services staff has come together to let you all know that we are still here. Thank you again for joining us. Stay safe and take good care.
Hello, my name is Jessie DeMuzio, Manager of Crisis Services at the YWCA Greenwich. As a way to honor the memory of those who were murdered by their intimate partner in Connecticut over this past year, primarily women of color, I will now read aloud their names. As each name is read, we will place a rose in memoriam of each victim. Catherine Taylor, Alice Figueroa, Gadiel Perez, Thomas Conley, Michael Chura, Natalie Feliciano, Jennifer Doulos, Perry Mason, Monique Dominguez, Janet Avalo Alvarez, LaRonda Jones, Brandia Irvin, Christine Holloway. We also acknowledge and honor an unknown individual who lost their lives in Connecticut due to domestic violence, whose name has not been disclosed.
Please join our staff in a moment of silence honoring all whose lives have been impacted by domestic violence.
Home. Home is where the heart is. It was once within the house of you. Within your walls I placed my love. Under the shelter of you I placed my trust. Your words showered my doubts away. Your arms lifted me up to the pedestal of your creation, its dizzying height mesmerizing, until your needs unmet to the highest standard of your decree, my efforts unable to fulfill your vision of what I should be. Then came the names, falling like rain, the torrent of abuse. They left no apparent marks, only indelible pain. The other women you swore to forsake, playmates for your playpen. It's your right, you would say. I was not doing my job, and that meant you could play. Home is where the heart is, and now I can see my home, my heart can only thrive in the space of truth, a place you will never be.
Hi, I'm Lexi Anderson, Youth Advocate at the YWCA Greenwich Domestic Abuse Services. Each year, the YWCA Greenwich presents the Purple Ribbon Award to a member of our community who has displayed an outstanding commitment to responding to the issue of domestic violence. I am honored to say a few words about this year's Purple Ribbon Award recipient, attorney Alex Kuda. It is widely understood that the greatest barriers for victims and survivors to safely leave an abusive relationship are number one, affordable and sustainable housing, and number two, legal services. 2 years ago, YWCA Domestic Abuse Services launched our civil legal clinic to provide limited guidance and legal services for victims and survivors. Our incredible volunteer attorneys meet with clients to help them understand the court process, guide them through legal paperwork, and provide some answers to their many questions. However, in many cases, the legal support from our clinic is not enough, and victims are best served by having legal representation, which is often financially out of reach for them. And this is why we look to our community for help. Attorney Alex Kuda has been there for us and our clients for many years now. First, Alex participated in our domestic violence training, specifically focusing on trauma-informed representation. Next, Alex let us know that he was available as a support for our staff with any legal questions for their clients. And then Alex got to work and offered his services pro bono directly to our clients. As Alex has worked with victims and survivors of domestic violence, he has continued to educate himself, seek to become aware of underlying dynamics of abuse so that he can best serve his clients. He has remained an important resource for our program and has been incredibly generous with his time. Alex has opened the door for our clients to be educated and receive guidance for these sometimes terrifying legal situations during the thick of the pandemic when so much was uncertain for all of us. Instead of taking a step back, Alex took a step forward to offer his services pro bono to our clients who especially needed legal help during the shutdown when courts were closed and only hearing very limited matters. Critically important matters for victims and survivors like motions regarding orders of protection, custody agreements, and child support were not being heard, and offenders were being less monitored by the court. With compassion, honesty, and support, Alex has helped survivors to learn their rights, get clarity, and have understanding about the legal process so that they may start to safely reclaim their control over their own lives. It has been an absolute privilege to collaborate with Alex, and I am delighted to recognize him tonight. It is my sincere pleasure to present this year's Purple Ribbon Award to you.
Hi, my name is Alexander Kuda, and I'm a partner here at Needle & Kuda in Westport. My humble thanks to the YWCA of Greenwich for this award and for their amazing and dedicated staff who tirelessly work on behalf of those affected by domestic violence. It has been a great honor to use my legal skills to help families going through difficult times, something which deeply matters to me both professionally as well as personally. I would like to thank my incredible team here at Needle & Kuda who makes my work in this area possible. This is particularly meaningful to me this year, where families are under stress, domestic abuse is even more likely. Thank you again for this award. I will display it with pride. It will always be a reminder to carry on this work.
Hello, I'm Jenny.
I'm Maddie.
And I'm Liz.
We are all students at Greenwich High School and the executive committee members of YNET. YNET is a youth activism group that focuses on promoting education around healthy relationships and teen dating violence at Greenwich High School and in the Greenwich community. Young people between the ages of 16 and 24 experience the highest rates of intimate partner violence, almost triple the national average. There is so much work to do to change a culture that allows gender-based violence to exist. Our goal as young leaders against the issue is to empower our peers, take small steps towards healthier relationships with themselves, each other, and their communities. Each small step taken by many can lead to a very big change. What do you think, Maddie?
I think that each of you have taken a step by being here tonight. Consider the strategies that we are employing here at the YWCA and in YNET to respond and prevent intimate partner violence. Talk to the young people in your life about relationships. Talk about the relationships you see play out on TV and in movies. Teach them how to ask for consent by modeling it for yourself. When adults model healthy boundaries, we give permission to young people to have autonomy over their own bodies. Young people look to the adults in their life as a model for how to behave. So most importantly, lead by example. Tell your friends that you are here tonight. Let them know that you believe survivors. Be clear with your peers that you don't tolerate sexist comments or jokes, no exceptions.
So true, Maddie. It's important to take these steps now more than ever. COVID-19 has negatively impacted so many facets of our lives. And in terms of domestic abuse and teen dating violence, the issue has only gotten worse. Now, teens have limited in-person access to trusted adults outside of their homes and little privacy and boundaries within their homes. Digital abuse is also so prevalent in teen dating violence, and it is amplified as a form of control during this time. A victim's online activities and communications with others may be closely monitored or restricted by their partner. Teens may be at a heightened risk to be pressured or coerced into sending sexually explicit photos when socially isolated from their partner. And for those students currently living in homes with domestic abuse, their exposure to the violence has increased, and their ability to access programs to prevent future incidents in their own lives or access help for themselves or a parent have been extremely limited.
What we are all trying to say is that it is so important now more than ever to support and believe survivors. And here are some practical ways you can do that in your community. Use your vote to support survivors, and use whatever outlet you have to raise awareness. Post about it on social media and reach out to your elected officials.
Choose a relevant book for your next book club and invite the Domestic Abuse Services Community Education Team to present to your school, group, or business. You can collect further resources on intimate partner violence on our Instagram pages at YWCA Greenwich and at YWG Safe Space.
You can also volunteer at the YWCA. And finally, survivors in Greenwich need our services now more than ever. You can support our work or support survivors by making a donation to domestic abuse services. Visit our website at ywcagreenwich.org.
It is up to every individual to recognize abusive behavior and not only show solidarity with survivors, but to condemn abusive behaviors when we see or hear it.
Tonight, we've all taken one step in the right direction. Thank you.
We appreciate you taking the time to join us for this virtual vigil and for all of the amazing support from our community. We could not continue to meet the needs of our victims and survivors in Greenwich without your support, especially at a time when the need for our services is at an all-time high. Please consider the steps that the YNET teens outlined that you can take, including making a donation on our website, ywcagreenwich.org. Thank you, stay safe, and take good care.